Hello everyone, welcome to this new video. Today we're going to talk about the $800 PC build of July 2020. This PC build will feature some crucial components, and this PC will pretty much game anything on 1080p high settings. I think you could say you can play more recent games like Call of Duty Modern Warfare on high settings 40 FPS or medium settings, which I would recommend are around 60 FPS. Let's just take you guys through the build, and after that I will show you guys some benchmarks and some benchmarks of some games that this PC will perform in. Mind, these are theoretical benchmarks. These are not actual benchmarks I ran, they're just theoretically made, so the performance in actual real life could differ, but it should be around the same. Now, we're going to go with the CPU, Intel Core i5 9600K 3.7 GHz 6-core processor. I wanted to do an Intel build again because I've been doing Ryzen builds for quite some time now, and it's fun. It's just fun to have a little bit of variation. The Intel Core i5 9600K is a 6-core processor with 3.7 GHz as a core clock and boost clock of 4.6 GHz. Now, this thing says it is boxed. However, the PCPartPicker program says it does not come with a cooler. So, what did I do? I got an extra CPU cooler for this thing, which is the Thermaltake UX100. Now, if your i5 does come with a cooler, which is pretty likely, but I don't know for sure, so I'm not going to say anything for sure, because PCPartPicker says otherwise, then this Thermaltake CPU cooler is still worth it. It's only $20, but it's probably better than a standard Intel CPU cooler. Would I do overclocking with this thing? No, I wouldn't recommend doing that because it's not an incredible CPU cooler. It's just okay and has some RGB LED lights, so that's pretty neat. The motherboard we went with is the Gigabyte B365M DS3H Micro ATX LGA 1151 motherboard. The Gigabyte B365M is a decent motherboard. It does the job. It's nothing special, doesn't have many fancy things. It has just normal 4 DDR4 slots. It has the right socket for our CPU. It has a PCIe slot, X16 mind you. It has some USB ports on the back, a HDMI port and all that stuff, an Ethernet port, and everything you kind of need on a PC. It supports 64 gigabytes maximum of memory, which is enough for the upcoming years. It also only supports DDR4 until 2660 MHz. Please pay attention to the fact that it only supports memory speeds up to 2666. So if you get any memory that's faster than this, it will either get downclocked or it simply won't work. I don't know exactly how that goes. I think it will get downclocked, but just to be sure, take a RAM stick that's a bit slower. It doesn't really matter because the speed of RAM is negligent. You don't really see that much of a performance difference with slower RAM sticks. It's really about the amount of RAM you have, and the amount of RAM you have is enough in this system because it's 16 gigs. It's the Corsair Vengeance LPX 16 gigabytes, two RAM sticks, so it's dual channel, which is a bit faster than single channel, and it's 16 gigs combined, which is enough. Also, it's DDR4 2660 MHz, so you should be fine. It's good memory. There's not much to be said. It's low profile, it works good, and it's just Corsair, so it should be fine. And the memory is okay. Now we go to the storage, which is the Seagate Barracuda Compute 2TB 3.5-inch 7200 RPM. You all know how I look at storage. I think that in a more expensive build you should get a lot of storage, because simply you're going to save a lot of games and maybe you even want to make some videos or something, and then the 2 terabytes is really handy. I myself have a 2 terabyte hard drive, and I had to reset my PC because I actually had too much stuff on it, and I kind of got confused on what I wanted to delete, so I just reset the whole thing. Now I have around 3 terabytes, but I'm not the average human being. I make some videos too, so the 2 terabytes should be enough for most people. It's for your games, and mainly for your games, and maybe some documents. It's just the things that take up a lot of space and you don't necessarily want to have quick access to. Now, the second storage device is a Kingston A400 120GB 2.5-inch solid-state drive. This is a solid-state drive of 120GB, so it's enough for Windows and some small stuff, but not a lot. It's an SSD, it's a small form factor of 2.5 inch, which is basic at an SSD. It's SATA 6GB per second, so well, it's a good SSD. It's cheap, very cheap actually. So, well, yeah, it's a good enough SSD. Now, the MSI GeForce GTX 1660 Super 6GB Gaming X video card is our video card this time. I made a Ryzen gaming PC from $800 a couple of weeks ago, maybe even a month ago when you guys see this video. And it featured not a GTX 1660, but from a different brand, I think. This one is the MSI, which is just a bit quicker. The Gaming X is very famous for being one of the more premium cards of every type. And it just works perfectly. It's MSI, so it just works. It's very good. You can do a lot of gaming with this thing. I will show you guys some benchmarks after, maybe, but I can already show you the benchmark of the GPU. It shows that the GTX 1660 Super on a Shadow of the Tomb Raider benchmark of 1080p highest quality had an average frame rate of 79, and the minimum FPS that it reached was 60. So you can easily game 1080p high with this GPU. You can see it performed just a bit better than the GTX 1660, and just a tad bit less good than the GTX 1070. It also performed a little bit worse than the GTX 1660 Ti and the 1070 Ti. So I think this is a pretty mediocre GPU, or a pretty, not mediocre, that's not what what I don't mean to say. It's medium. It's kind of in the medium range, which is perfect for the price point. It is not very good, but it's also not bad. It's a good GPU for what it has to do. I will also show you guys some benchmarks, like the benchmark of the single core performance score of CPU-C of the Core i5-9600K, and there you can see it nearly overperformed on nearly every other competition that's out there. It's a pretty good GPU. Tragically, we don't see the Ryzen 5 3600X in here somewhere, so that's too bad, or the 3600 normal. Only the 2nd gen Ryzen, but the 3rd gen Ryzen has a Zen 2 microarchitecture, so that could change the game quite a bit. But well, as you can see, it performs very good, the Core i5-9600K, and I think it's nearly the same as the Ryzen 5 3600. Also some benchmarks of games, like Call of Duty Modern Warfare, which plays on medium settings 60 FPS, high settings 39.5 FPS, and lower settings 138.7 FPS. Ultra high would be quite difficult playing because it's 29.1 FPS, which is definitely not recommended to, well, it's not recommended to play on ultra high basically. I would recommend playing on medium settings. Fortnite is easy, it's easy cake for this thing. Low settings 200 plus FPS, medium settings 200 plus FPS, high settings 104 FPS, ultra high 70 FPS. So Fortnite means nothing to this thing, it can easily cut through it. City Skylines, because that's the game you guys are viewing right now, you might think, well, that's a fun game, I want to play that. So the low settings for this game is 200 FPS, medium settings 200 FPS, high settings 113 FPS, ultra high settings is nearly 80 FPS. So this game Also, it's just a piece of cake for this machine. Minecraft, well, you guys see it's all 200 FPS, so Minecraft shouldn't be a problem. Not that I expected it to be. I just needed another popular game in there, and well, Minecraft was an easy pick. Now continuing to the last few parts, which is the case. The case is the Cougar MX 338X mid-tower case. It is good, it has enough space for everything, and it's a case of 50 bucks. 50 bucks for a case, and you know how I look at these cases. I always say it's personal preference. As long as it's an ATX mid-tower case and the GPU fits in it and the CPU cooler fits in it, which is very likely it does, and it's 50 bucks, you should be fine in general. If you have a very exotic design, maybe you could ask in the comments. In general, I support asking stuff in the comments because I'm here to help. Now let's go to the power supply. The power supply is an EVGA BR 500 watts, 80 plus bronze certified. It's from EVGA, which is just a good company. It makes good power supplies. 500 watts, so enough power, because PCPartPicker estimates that it has a wattage. This PC needs a wattage of 331 watts, so 500 watts should be fine. It's also 80 plus bronze, so you save a little bit on your power efficiency and a little bit on your power costs. It is good enough for our PC. And that was a build. The grand total of all of this right now on PCPartPicker is 802 bucks and 39 cents. Now this could vary a lot from when you buy it, but at this moment it's nearly 800 bucks. At least close to. Just make sure that all of the, if you pick another case, that it fits, etc, etc. And that was really just the vid for today. I hope you guys liked it, and I'll see you guys next time. Later. See you later in the next video. Yeah, something like that. Bye.